I would love to hear about your journey into teaching speaking. Since my awakening, I've felt huge calling to speak about non-duality, and I know I'm not ready yet, and I have looked at any stories surrounding that movement, and I don't think I see any. So I guess I'm curious, how did you start speaking? What was your first time like for you? You're amazing, thank you. Oh, also, can you please not use my name? Oh, sorry. I've already used it, but I think I didn't even pronounce it right, so hopefully nobody heard it. So what was the journey into speaking like? Well, it was really sudden. My friend was very sick. Shortly after the last big awakening, there'd been many awakenings before, but the last big one, he was very ill, and at that time I had a lot of free time, so he couldn't drive anymore, but he still had a business, his own business, so I was driving him around, and when we were in the car I began to speak with him, and it came out really naturally, and we had so many beautiful conversations, and through him and his encouragement, that's how I began to start speaking, and it happened really quickly. So the last big awakening happened, and I started speaking. He started getting ill almost as soon. He was probably a bit ill before that last big awakening, but like about 2 months after that last big awakening. Maybe it was, like in retrospect now, maybe it was a bit quick to start speaking, but at the same time I see it as so perfect. It was really perfect for this character because my tendencies is low self-esteem before the awakening, and still sometimes that runs through this system of not wanting to put myself in the limelight and not wanting to step out or step up. I can be a hermit character and I can be a very good loner. And so speaking has like shoved me out of the cave and really made me have to face relationships with people and relating and talking about this. So on my perspective, it was so beautiful journey that life did that. And I never ever would have believed this would be something that I would do. Never. I never once thought this would be my job. Even when I was awakening and listening and going to lots of talks, I never imagined myself the teacher. I always liked being listening to the other person. I liked not having the attention, basically, not having to say anything and to listen. And yeah, and this has really pushed me above and beyond my comfort zones, being in the limelight and speaking with people. But it's really effortless when you don't have an objective. So I've never had an objective with speaking. It just kind of naturally happened, and I don't have an objective. Maybe sometimes when I'm doing live talks, not the online talks, but when I'm doing live talks, the objective might be, if there is any, to get the expenses covered. And maybe there's been an objective at points to cover my living costs. I don't really have very high costs. But not even, I never once have advertised something in order to make money. It's kind of just happened like that, but obviously the money's been involved with it, but I've never had that mentality around it. And at first I only did invitations. I thought that that I should only do it when people ask me, and I thought that that this was the ethical way to do it. Like I was never pushing myself out there. It was only when people asked me. And after time, I changed that, and I started organizing it, or I started to initiate the organization, because when I was in control or I was the boss, then I had all freedom of what I could do. When other people were asking, inviting me, then, they might not be happy if I sit down, which I have done. I've done so many talks now, and I've just sworn the whole time. I once did this thing where I went to this really spiritual place, and I just follow the feeling as to what's got to happen. And then I sat there and I was like, fuck, cunt, bloody, fuck, cunt, wanker, shithead, bollocks, tits. And I just did it for the whole hour. And I remember my friend had come to the talk as well, and they were like, and actually the organizer was super cool about it. I couldn't help it. It just is what came out. And yeah, and so now by doing all the organization, I have all the, like, I can't be asked not to do things, which happens when other people are the organizers. So now I have all the control of it, which is really nice. Or there's more of a freedom of it. And I never have a motivation to save people, even though when I'm immediately speaking with them, there is great compassion that arises that wants to be able to express to them and communicate. And it is compassion and love. I don't really have an agenda. I don't have an agenda of, I'm going to fix this person and I'm going to give this message to the person. I just sit there and do my thing and then get up and go and have my dinner. And I don't really have a message. I just kind of speak and don't really think about it the rest of the time. And the speaking changes. And I grow into it. I grow into this role, because it takes a lot of strength as a woman to do this role. And it brings up pain. It brings up fear sometimes. It brings up sadness sometimes. It brings up great joy, ecstasy, love, compassion. All these different feelings. Wow, just thinking about everything that I've been through as a speaker the last 7 years, 6, 7 years, there's so much. So much. She says, I love hearing about it. Teachers don't often speak about being teachers. It's so intense being a teacher. You have all these people believing that, firstly, that you're some God that never has feelings or never has reactions. They have all these expectations of you. Honestly, if you haven't had big awakenings and there isn't a good grounding in it, then I would stay away from speaking, because it's so intense. You haven't got a job like it. There's no other job, I don't think, where people expect so much of you. People expect a lot from you as, say, an actress or a singer or something. But also they expect you to be like a godlike creature that's beyond being human. Like, people expect you to not have any wants or desires, or any feelings of sadness or fear, or whatever feelings. that come up, or jealousy, or anger, or insecurity, and all of those feelings can come up. All of them. And it takes such strength and such power in that. And then from the outside, you know, especially when you're a woman speaker, because of the way our society is, and it's not a comfortable stereotype that I'm sitting here speaking as a young blonde woman, what happens when society is confronted with a stereotype they're not comfortable with is it brings up a lot of anger and fear in them and violence. They're not even conscious of it, but it's what happens, you know, when with gay people, with black people, with racism, all of it confronts our stereotypical view of life. And when we're confronted, when humans are confronted like that, that's often the reactions they have. So I can have really, as a woman speaker, firstly, that's really rare to be a woman speaker in non-duality and a young woman speaker. It can really confront people's projections of what this needs to look like. And also because I can be passive, and I can, when I lose my temper, I can be angry and very firm, but that's not very often. It takes a lot to get me to lose my temper. And it's normally, if I lose my temper, it's around injustice or something. But the rest of the time I'm very passive. And if you're very passive, then the pushy people will push over you. So there's so much that you have to deal with as a speaker that you have no idea is going to come before. You have no idea about these little details. Sending you so much love. Thank you. So helpful what you said. Hope we can speak again. Yeah, I sense that, what it brings up in people for sure. Wow. Yeah, it's really something stepping out there and being a teacher. It's like, yeah, it's really, because you still have the old conditioning of this body. You know, these bodies have been seekers for a long time, so they've still got patterns. So also because of my dyslexia, and also because of my passivity, I have a tendency to not be too pushy with the ideas. And often a response comes up is, I don't know what the answer is. People are like, how can you not know? And until you've had these awakenings, it's hard to understand, firstly, that you can have all types of feelings, and that these conditioned instruments still have their old patterns, even though it's different. Because people can only imagine enlightenment as not experiencing that which they don't want to experience. So they see anger or jealousy or fear, all these things as the problem. But actually the problem is this energetic separation. It's not those things as such. If you look at animals, like Khaleesi gets all of those feelings. She's always very insecure whenever I pick up something in the house, because I'm diagnosed with dyslexia, but I most probably have something called dyspraxia as well, which means that it seems to be amplified with the awakening. Drop things. My poor neighbour's underneath, and I see her as soon as I get up and go to pick something up. She's like, oh, she's picking it up again. And it's like regularly, daily, there's something that gets dropped. And it's normally got a plate full of food on it, or a drink, or a tray of stuff. It's funny. So thanks for the question. That's a lovely question. People don't normally ask that, what it's like to be a teacher. It's full on. You can't imagine. Like last year I did a 2-week retreat, which was the first time I did this. I did it all by myself. I had no other teacher. I think it was 27 people did it for 2 weeks. And intense emotions came up. And also I had Khaleesi there, so I was looking after Khaleesi. It was so much work. I came to a conclusion I can only do that again while working with another person. It's too much work for one person. But it was amazing, and it was so beautiful for seeing the transformation of people. But poof, I was exhausted afterwards. Exhausted. Yeah. Like everything came up. And then it would be like things would happen in the group, like social things and getting on and stuff. And I'd sit there and be like, I've learned so much about psychology being a teacher, the psychology of humans. Hi, Monica. Hello, Lisa. Sending lots of love to you. And thank you so much for sharing this every week. With pleasure, Monica. I really love doing the Ustreams. They're most probably my favourite way of communicating. Most probably because I can just get out of conversations by saying bye and hanging up. And when I'm in a live talk and you can't get out of conversations, you really have to face it with people. It's part of the reason, most probably. I can be more hermit-like here. And also, and I can direct it away from too heavy energies sometimes. When you're in a public talk, you can't always, especially if it's a small public talk and somebody's got really heavy energy, you just have to really deal with it. And because I'm an empathy character, it's like you really go into it with them. But also I love the intimacy of this. There's something so much more formal about doing a public talk, whereas sitting in your lounge, this is a sofa, by the way, someone was asking me what this is, sitting on your sofa, your dog sitting next to you farting away, there's something very sweet about that makes non-duality really not spiritual or religious or holy. It makes it a really like normal thing in which all humans will be moving to soon. If someone like this body-mind mechanism can have these awakenings, trust me, you all can. You all can. Lisa, you're looking exceptionally pretty today. New camera. New camera. I'd love to say it's me. Oh no, actually it's not. I had my hair done. That was it. I went to the hairdressers yesterday. So yes. But I'm also using my iPad camera. Got a new setup. New speakers. You see, they're there instead of my breasts. My breasts shrunk to this, to two little speakers. Stop! I don't know if you're watching Tanya and Delango. This is the dual microphone, and it works with my iPad. It's a dual microphone, which is what we were missing, and it came a day after I left to India, and it works perfectly, and it's a great sound. So I could have had one for the audience and one for me, and it's huge. But instead I've just replaced them as two nipples. Happens. Whoa, thank you so much for sharing this, how it is for you to give these talks. Yeah, it's I mean there's so many details. Like so doing the talks. And I also retreats, I think I love the Ustream because I also love doing retreats as well. The one for 2 weeks was really a lot of work for me, but there's something really beautiful about seeing people every day for a whole week and watching them open up. It was so amazing on the 2-week one, watching people open by the end of it. There's something really special about that as well. My least favourite is just doing one night talks where you just turn up a venue, blah, blah, blah. I feel so commercial and like a bit impersonal. So I tend to do a lot less of that now. Yeah, the other thing that's difficult when being the speaker is that I'm not seeking anymore. I still have my karmas coming up and my issues that are working their way out and doing their thing, but I'm not seeking. So I'm not seeking to get love or to get safety from anyone or anything. There's nothing out there which can give me anything. And then there is this sense of huge love for everything that comes with that when you're no longer in that trading position. And so that's also an interesting dance, because people that come to the talks are still seeking, and they believe that you can give them something really important. And so it's like you have to watch a lot of Heartbreak, because they have you as this like this high up person that can give them something, and you can't. It's in them, it's that I am. And you have to see them go through the stage of disillusionment. And it's really important that they do, because it's not in anyone else. Even though I'm the speaker and I'm the person at the front, I'm actually speaking your own love song. I'm reminding you of yourself. That's why you're attracted to it. It's actually nothing to do with me at all. So just like with music, there's music that you're attracted to and not, and it's not to do with the musician, it's to do with what your heart is resonating at. And what your heart is resonating at is that boundless freedom. This right here, this intimacy of what's happening. This is it. This is it. But the mind gets confused and says, it's Lisa, and it's not. It's nothing to do with me. This is old seeking patterns that have formed from childhood, and it's normally about where you didn't get love from your mother or father, or where you felt you needed love and security as a child, just being repeated again and again and again until it's seen that love, security and home is never found in a behavior, a thing, a feeling, a sensation, a sight. It is the nature. It is the nature. Hello? Just checking the sound. Okay, so who would like to call? Don't worry, I've got you. It was quite an answer, but you still do not speak clearly enough. Ah, thank you, lovely thing. That's from Open Eye, hun. Speak clearly or not? To speak clearly or not? Or not? No. Okay. Forget it. That doesn't make sense. So just send me a message. You're on a roll, I know. Honestly, lately I've got such a gob on me. You might only know that word if you're English. But gob as in like, I can't stop speaking. As soon as we get onto the subject, it's like... I sit there at the beginning. That's often why I'm in silence. And I'm like, yeah, I've got nothing to say. Nothing to say. And then it's like, you can't... Basically, all I've got to say is this is it, freedom's here, and I can spend 2 hours just on and on and on. Can I ask you a question?